Call the meeting to order. Let's all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. At this point, entertain any additions or changes to the agenda. We already talked about moving Adrian up. Are there any other additions that we want to talk about? I think there may be one. Donna had sent out something to add to the agenda.
I think you might be referring to Elaine's memo about the
Yes.
the money. Yeah, I can do that underneath the town manager's report if that works.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, hearing no others, we'll open it up for any public comment. And Donna, did you want to just advise people on that procedure?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So there's a public comment section at the beginning and the end of the meeting. If you have a public comment, you can jot your name down in the chat bubble and you will be recognized. If there's anyone who has a public comment at this time, if you just want to let us know right now, you can, and there will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. So I don't see anyone commenting at this point. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Our next would be our good to know section.
Yeah, we do not have anybody for tonight's meeting.
Okay, I thank you. Appointments and resignations, and I believe we have one appointment.
We do. He's here with us tonight, Mr. Craig Bryant. And in your packet under 6A, appointments and resignations, this would be for Parks and Recreation Director. This would be the appointment. After a thorough recruitment and interview process, the town manager is recommending the appointment of Craig Bryant to serve as Park and Recreation Director. Mr. Bryant will be introduced at the meeting. And I believe he's here. I don't know if I see him on camera. Craig, are you here?
I'm here. I am here.
All right. Why don't you tell the Board of Selectmen and the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah,
They may
sure.
have some questions.
Great. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to join a great town and organization and really dive right in. There's really no time to get my feet wet. I'm going to dive right in. So, yeah, a little bit about me. I've been working in recreation for 20 plus years. I was a manager of a rec center in South Kingstown, Rhode Island. My last day there is actually tomorrow. And before that, I was managing a rec center out in Highlands Ranch, Colorado for about 10 years. And I've worked for the Central Connecticut State University, running their recreation department outside of college. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of my, besides my family and whatever else, recreation has kind of been my life and for a very long time. So, yeah, anything else you guys want to know? That was just a really very quick summary. I could go on and on.
What did, as you look around town, what do you think of the town? What do you think of the facilities, and what are some of your ideas?
Sure. So, I mean, Burnt Hill Park is unbelievable. That's one of the nicest parks I've seen in Connecticut, Rhode Island. So, so I'm really excited to be officing out of there and seeing all the great programs that are there. For ideas for the town, first I really want to get acclimated and see what's going on already, and then seeing what we can expand on. I think it's a good community where a lot of the community events are well attended, and we can definitely add on to that. Trying to expand youth programming is going to be big. I think senior programming is going to be big, especially something similar to pickleball. So yeah, I think there's a lot of great resources in the town. I think the parks are amazing. The trails are incredible. I've hiked a few of them. Actually, this past weekend I went to Raymond Brooks. So yeah, there's a lot to do for such a small town. So it's pretty exciting.
Open it up to my other fellow board members. Anybody have any questions?
Just Craig, if this is John Collins, if you're interested in hiking other trails in the town, a bunch of us get together. I haven't actually in the last couple of weeks, but on Fridays generally to see like the trails in open space and in the rec areas.
That's awesome. I'd love to do that.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chairman, Peter?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't have any particular questions, but serving as a liaison to the Parks and Rec Commission, I know we're very excited to have you. So welcome aboard. We're looking forward to the impact you're going to have on the community.
Great.
Thank
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be there and really excited to get going.
Mark?
Dan? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Craig, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm interested in some of the events we have in town. I love them. I've run in the Ghost Run a couple of times. I like the 5K that we have. Do you intend on growing those and try to add on some events which bring people from the outside in to participate and our own citizens?
Well, I don't see why we wouldn't want to expand on something that's working already. So I think, one of my jobs to start is to kind of evaluate what we're doing, right? And then seeing what we can expand on, see any changes we need to make. But if we have things that are work, we can only grow from there, right? We can only expand. And if it's working, we'll keep going with it. And I think that's a great idea, especially the road races are so popular nowadays. And I saw that, Ram High School has how many championships recently in cross country or so. So, and we have that, I think it's a running club for the kids. So it's only going to get bigger if it keeps selling out the way it is. If the high school keeps doing as well it is. And seems like it's a pretty active town. So, that could be a pillar. We could work a lot off of that.
Oh, thanks, Craig.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to read the motion. Move Dan Larson here. Move that in accordance with Chapter 8, Section 801, the Hebron Town Charter, the Board of Selectmen confirms the town manager's appointment of Craig Bryant to serve as the Parks and Recreation Director. Any further discussion? Hearing none, move for a vote. Mark
Rivera, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Craig's start date is the 23rd.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
All right. Look forward to meeting all you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Craig.
Okay, Andy, did you want to go right into Adrian's?
Yeah, next, if we could, we moved up item 9B, which is we have with us the revenue collector for the suspension list. Adrian is with us. So Adrian, I'll let you walk us through that. Let them know it's per state statute and go from there.
Yep. So basically, we should be transferring accounts that are deemed uncollectible for a variety of reasons to a suspense book. It does not negate our ability to collect them. They are going to sit on our system for 15 years. It's just simply an accounting function that is a requirement.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Dan Larson?
Peter Casper, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, please.
is this a normal amount? I mean, I don't recall this in the past. So is this a normal amount that are transferred both dollar-wise and the number of entries?
Well, we did not do one last year because of COVID and just the situation, limited staffing. So this is basically double what we would do in a normal year. And so, I mean, there are towns that just do an entire year at a time. I really kind of went through this list and identified each account and looked at each account and looked at payment history, looked at our notes in the system as far as whether the mail is being returned, whether the person's deceased. So it is double the amount that we would normally do.
If I could just follow up.
Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Pete.
I'm just interested in the process. And so now they sit on the books for 15 years. And so what's the normal follow-up then after that? I mean, how does it sort of flow? Like if someone becomes, transferred into some collectible category, how frequently do we follow up, or, how does the process work during the time that they're sitting in that status?
Well, all the normal procedures as far as the motor vehicles, which all of these are motor vehicles, they will not be able to register a vehicle in Connecticut for the next 15 years. So that is not going to change. As far as the mail returned ones, we don't continue to send out mail simply because it's a waste of revenue. And if we get an address or we hear of an address, we certainly will attempt to send them out a statement at a different address.
Thank you.
Dan Larson here. So as you had stated, these are all motor vehicles.
Yes.
So at this point, there's no other actions really that we can take, I'm assuming, to attempt to recoup these dollar amounts.
Well, if they attempt to register, and that happens, it does happen. They're not going anywhere. They're just being moved for accounting purposes. They won't be able to register. With a motor vehicle, it's a little hard. If they relocate to another state and we don't have a reciprocal agreement, there's really not a lot of enforcement that we can do.
Okay. Thank you.
Adrian, do we have reciprocal agreements with other New England states?
I'm not sure at the DMV level if they do have reciprocal agreements. I know in some states, you have to have clear registration status. I don't know what those states are. I have never had another state so far come back to me. I've been doing this 22 years and say, hey, this person can't register, but I have heard there are reciprocal agreements. I don't know of any specifically.
It's the same way in the police world too, Adrian. Some states will
Yeah.
honor tickets and some don't. And
Right.
so if they relocated, we're unlikely to get it. And I also noticed that some are deceased. So that's a definite, we're not getting those. So,
Exactly.
all right, thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
John, any questions?
No, wow.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion, move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the 2020-2021 suspense list as presented in the total amount of $53,766.21. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Adrian.
Next will be our town manager's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the past 2 weeks or so, we've been working to fill the town planner's position. We still haven't got a lot of interest in that. So we continue to re-advertise that. there are quite a few, when I say quite a few, I know of 5 towns that are in Connecticut presently looking for a planner, so we're having a little difficulty filling that position. Michael Leary has retired. Friday was his last day, but he's graciously agreed to stay on remotely and continue to work with us in a somewhat of a capacity until we can get somebody to fill that position. He's not just gonna leave us high and dry, so he's still working with the boards and commissions, and he's also, staying in contact with the town hall. I was on several calls with him today. So it's an issue. We're gonna try to enhance that a little bit and see if we can't get some qualified candidates in here to start moving that forward. But as of right now, we're still not there yet. We've been very busy following with CCM the state budget. A couple of the concerns that affect the town of Hebron is once again the police accountability bill. It's been watered down a little bit, but they're still pushing the storage of the cameras onto the municipalities, and they're also still pushing that other certification other than post, which is more expensive for towns like us. So we're gonna, continue to follow that. And as I had showed you, we had put a regional plan together in case the state doesn't pick it up. I was hoping they would at least do an RFP themselves that we could piggyback on, but it doesn't even appear that that may happen. The other thing is, the zoning regulations, they were pushing a bill that's been watered down quite a bit since its inception. Really doesn't affect Hebron a whole lot at this point in time. But one thing they do have is the 2 areas that do affect Hebron, they put language in it for opt-out. So all it would take would be for our commission to vote to opt out on the regulations being proposed by the state and then send a letter, and that would suffice. So we're not too worried about that at this point in time. So we had some heavy rain a week since our last meeting, and that did some severe damage to some of our infrastructure and our roads. One specifically is Slocum Road, which is a dead end. We have cul-de-sac at the end of that, and it washed out one of the pipes. So we're taking a look at that now and evaluating what we're going to need to do, but we're going to have an emergency repair coming your way. One of the pipes is in pretty tough shape, so we're going to try to fix it in place, possibly with a liner, but it's still going to be costly, something that we weren't anticipating. So we'll keep you posted on that. We're getting quotes on that now. And then, as you heard, we were working with the Parks and Rec for the new person to start. He starts on the 23rd. I kind of been running the crews up there along with Jay Hunterford until that can happen. So far so good. We're trying to keep the town in good shape and all the ball fields are mowed. And also we're continuing to work on that bridge on the new trail. So everything's moving on, even though we don't have somebody in that slot yet. So we're anxious to get Craig in here. East Street, we finished the paving of that. I don't know if anybody's driven on that. That came out very nice. That was a big job, long overdue. That was the bonding money that was approved, so thank you. I think, the residents enjoy that. We've got a lot more roads we need to get caught up on, but we're starting to get going in the right direction. So they'll still continue to be putting aprons on for the next week or 2. I also met with John Barron. I think most people on the board know who is. John's like an historian here in Hebron. And I met with him regarding the sidewalk project on Wall Street. There were some archaeological concerns about that, where the sidewalk was going to go. So before Mike left, myself and Mike met with John and the state archaeologist to see what we could do to make sure we don't disturb that area, but we can still try to move forward with the sidewalk. So that was a good meeting. We're getting some more information compiled, and we'll bring you up to date on that as soon as we get it. I've been working with Father Ron from St. Peter's. He's entertaining possible purchase of property right next to St. Peter's. If you're standing in the road looking at it, it's to the left. It's another parcel owned by the Hortons. I think it's roughly, I think it's roughly like maybe 12 acres, 13 acres. Don't quote me. But it's a field up by the road right to the left of St. Peter's, and then it's kind of a sloped area that drops off down into a wetland. Father Ron is hoping that the town and the Open Space Land Acquisition Committee would be interested at least in a portion of that, especially down along that greenway that would attach properties that we already own and anticipate another property we're going to probably take ownership of in the near future. So he's putting some numbers together. He's talking with the Hortons. We'll continue to keep you posted on that. He's also considering some affordable housing in there, and they're kind of spearheading that. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that unfolds. I've been working with the superintendent and the business manager on the comments that were in the audit. We had a good meeting with my finance department and them earlier this week. It went very well. We've addressed most of the comments in the audit report due to the start of the fiscal year, and we're addressing those and sending them off a letter. So we should be in good shape. I appreciate their cooperation and coming in and working with us to solve that. And along with that, we're closing out the end of the year. Elaine will be giving a budget update. So that's the correspondence that we sent out to the selectmen. And quite frankly, what that is, that's an update. And I can read it if you want, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe it was all in our packets, so.
Yeah, for the public, why don't I just cut to the chase? Because a lot of people are wondering what we're getting for that American CARES Act. So at the present right now, it's been reported to us that we're to receive $1,406,357.17 for one of 2 years. We're going to get that payment twice. The important part to know about that is they have not come out with the guidelines on how that can be spent. There's a lot of speculation. I've been to several seminars. There's a lot of restrictions. You have to treat it as a special account or special revenue, which in our town or our charter, what that means that a lot of that would have to be approved by a town meeting. So you have to have the money earmarked for a project by 2024, but you don't have to have it spent. But it sounds like to me that they're going to not come back until the fall. They're going to give us the money. We're anticipating getting the money next month, but they're not going to come back with at least some of the guidelines in the fall on how you can use it. And that's kind of discouraging because not so much us, but I know surrounding towns around us cut their budgets based on getting this money and using it within the fiscal year. So as we learn more, we'll bring it to the selectmen. We'll continue to forward you the information that comes through. But like I said, I think I meet once a week with CCM and cost to get updates. And there's pretty much similar. They're not really coming out with the list. CCM said by next week, hopefully they're going to come out with a toolbox of things you could possibly use it for, frequently asked questions, do's and don'ts. So as I get that, we'll send that out. But that's been time consuming. But I wanted everybody to know how much money that we're earmarked to get.
Thank you. Here again, the devil's in the details. You may be getting the money, but depending on what fits the parameters could drastically alter projects that money could be utilized for. And just sad that it's going to take so long to actually get a handle as to what can be done with that. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Waiting for more information.
I had one more thing.
Yes, please.
Well, two more things. One is we did end up, after all that, receiving the extra ECS money. So we're receiving $180,000 that we cut the budget by. So that'll now be a revenue, and that'll go into the revenue, and we can use it as an offset. but the budgets have been approved and passed, so that's pretty much how that works. And then lastly, I've stricken up conversations with the water company again. They're gonna come in the next 2 weeks. We're gonna sit down, and I want them to produce the plan moving forward, because there's all kinds of federal money that's being thrown around. And if there's any way to enhance that system, we could possibly apply for grants and partner with them to try to get more water, more sustainability in the center of town. So we're gonna start those talks. They've been kind of, because of COVID, they've kind of stopped, but we're gonna start those back up again.
Again, that would be fantastic. Part of our limiting factors in any kind of development is having water and your sewer capabilities. You know, so as we move forward with any kinds of build outs on any properties in the center or wherever, you know, the sewer projects or the water lines go, is going to be dependent on what we can actually figure on utilizing for added gallonage. You know, I'm sure everybody remembers that last year or 2 years ago, whenever, when Colebrook went online and we started having, you know, water quantity issues, towns like Hebron, this is a big deal. So I don't know, anybody else have any comments or anything? Okay, hearing none, moving on.
Mr. Chairman, just a question.
Yes, sir.
The students that came that were doing that water study, did they ever give us or come back with their final report?
They did, and I thought I shared that with you. If I didn't, I can definitely do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So our next item, I believe, is discussing the Board of Selectmen meeting format and summer meeting schedule.
Yes, so we put this on the agenda now that the COVID numbers have declined. We do have some boards and commissions, the smaller ones, that like to meet in person. So they're allowed to do that as long as they do it following the regulations that are still in place with the 6-foot social distancing. Some of them are, they're still wearing the masks during the meetings. They take it off when they speak, as long as they're far enough away. But it's time for the Board of Selectmen to have a conversation regarding their meetings.
Okay. Well, I'll open it up to the my fellow selectmen for their input. Who wants to start? Mark?
Sure. I would propose that a good time frame to start would be when we return from the summer in September. At this point, it seems like everybody's going to be getting back to normal. Even at RAM, we're going to be going back to a full schedule, and scheduling that is more standard than we've been for the past year. I would also propose that I talked to Donna and Andy, and if we're a little light on things that we need to decide, I can't see meeting for no reason. So I would suggest that we just meet the third Thursdays of July and August and have that August meeting, the kickoff, to get back into the flow of things as normal as we can. That's my feeling.
Okay, great, thank you. Peter, John?
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, if we get back to normal, are we going to limit any ability for the public to access us electronically? Would they have to pay for it?
I would say if we're going back to in-person meetings, then we would want in-person, you know, comments or questions or what have you. That's one of the things that I like best about this format, is it allows people to, from their home, being able to communicate with us twice, once in the beginning, once at the they don't have to, pack up the kids and go to a meeting. The elderly don't have to worry about driving at night to go to a meeting. It can be done from the security of their own homes. So I just see a lot of pluses with this. We are still accessible, and so I don't see where that changes. The only thing is we're not meeting in person. Outside of that, we're still meeting. We still have all of the same packets and everything else if people want to go in to get them. And we could always have them delivered if that becomes an issue. So I kind of think that we are actually more accessible doing it this way than we've ever been in the past.
Good point.
The
Is
other
there
thing,
anything that precludes us from having a hybrid format where we have the opportunity, whether it's whatever it is, maybe it's every other month that we have something like this scheduled. So maybe the person who doesn't want to attend every single time, but still wants to engage in town government. I just don't want to start to exclude people that might otherwise have felt that might be for the reasons you described, and not want to come out in person, but are happy to join in this format.
Mr. Chair,
yes, please, Andy.
so just to answer Peter's question, what we would be proposing, unless the selectmen vote to change that, is if we went back to in-person meetings, they would still be like Facebooked, but we don't interact with the public through Facebook because there's no way of knowing if it's authentic or not. If the Board of Selectmen wanted to do some sort of hybrid, we would have to get the equipment to do that. We're not capable of doing that right now, but that's not a criticism. We could do that. But what is suggested here tonight is either this format or go back to what we used to do prior to COVID, or a combination of something. But we would have to figure that out.
John?
Yeah, I'm of two minds. I think the Zoom meetings are really good because they are accessible. If we could have hybrid meetings, that would be good, because the Zoom meetings are kind of symbolic. The rest of the country is getting back to work. People in private business are saying come back to work, and in person is important there. But as I said, the Zoom, what everybody has said is true about Zoom. It's more accessible, it allows more participation, allows people who have kids to participate and all that. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mark.
Hey, having listened to all of you, I think I changed my mind a little bit. You're all very right that Zoom, you see way more people on a Zoom meeting than you ever saw sitting in the seats in front of us. 2 or 3 times that, and sometimes even more. A compromise may be that, I like Peter's idea, maybe one Thursday it's in person and the other Thursday it's Zoom, or I don't know, Andy was saying it might be difficult to offer both every time, so I don't know the logistics of that, but I think I kind of changed my mind. I'd like to see Zoom continue in some capacity.
It's Donna speaking. We may, and I'm not sure what the status is of the legislation. Andy, you may know better, but we may not have an option with that either way. There's legislation that was being proposed that if we return to in-person meetings, we would still need to provide a means for the public to interact with us virtually. So we may still need to provide that. And if we stay remote, we may need to provide a public space where the public could attend the meeting in a public space and view it in real time. So I'm not sure what the status is of that legislation, but it's definitely something that they were considering. And then there are several public comments at this time on this subject. I would just like to read them into the record.
Yes,
So we
please,
have
thank you.
a lot of our visitors are weighing in on this. So Terry McManus says he agrees, and that is with the virtual meeting format. Lily Rhodes agrees. Jennifer Moorline says I agree. It's difficult to take 2 children under the age of 4 to a meeting when I can watch virtually. Ann Zitkus says Dan Larson has good points. Lily Rhodes again says public comments via Zoom is a wonderful option. Lily Rhodes, oh, thank you. Thank you, Lily. So that's it for the public comments on that subject. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Well,
Donna's, if I can chime in, Mr. Chairman,
yes, please.
Donna's correct. They're going to the implementer bill and everything's still on the table, but Donna's correct. It could be as easy as providing somebody with a phone to join the meeting in a public place. Once again, that bill got watered down from when it originally started out. The one thing you do have to do is you have to record it for 45 days and store that for FOI reasons, which we don't have a problem doing. The other thing is you have to notify any board or commission member 48 hours prior to the meeting, so they have the option to do what they need to do to attend, or know that it's going to be via Zoom or whatever means, virtual. So we'll wait to see when that comes out. So we probably will talk about that at the next meeting when it's finalized. But thank you, Donna, for bringing that up.
If I may then interject, I think at this point in time, unless someone disagrees, I think we should, at least for the next couple of months, keep it this way. One other issue which we haven't discussed that plays a part of this is that new, and I'm afraid I cannot remember it, but it's that new variant of COVID-19 or of a COVID virus that is apparently really picking up steam. There's 34 or 39 cases in Connecticut just this week. So I would love to say that we're out of the woods. And I think by and large, we probably are, but I sure don't want to put all of my pennies in that bag. We could still be surprised, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this summer and fall. But unless, as I say, anybody has any issues that we need to actually take a vote, I would just see if people would be willing to at least maintain the status quo the way we're doing it, at least until the September meeting, when we can bring it up and discuss it again. So is everybody okay with that for now? Mark?
I am, Dan. I think that's a good idea.
Peter?
100% behind what you just said.
Sure, especially pending the legislation. I'd like to see what that says, so we don't make changes and have to then adjust.
Do it again. John?
Yep, agreed.
And myself, yes. And then as for your other suggestion of canceling the July 1st and the August 5th meetings, historically, summertime, we really don't have an awful lot on our plates with people trying to do vacations and one thing or another. I personally don't have an issue. If anything does come down the pike, we can still call special meetings, so it's not like we can't meet. And I know Gail was in favor of canceling those 2 meetings also. So again, the feeling of the body. Mark?
since I proposed it, and I definitely agree. I definitely agree with
Well,
it.
you gotta ask.
Hey, I'm glad Gail concurred with that too, Dan.
Peter,
I'm fine with what's been proposed.
John,
Yeah, fine.
and myself, sure. Okay. Excuse me. Any other old business? I don't think of any, so okay. We're on to this one. This is the first under new business. Andy, you want to get into this a little bit?
Yeah, I'll introduce it, then I'm gonna switch gears over to Donna, because Donna's kind of been spearheading this project for the town and myself. She's done a wonderful job. It's a lot of work. But item 9A is award contract for the architectural/engineer for Stonecroft Housing Rehabilitation Small Cities Project. And Donna, with that, I will let you take it away.
Okay, thank you, Andy. We have some guests here with us tonight also for this item. Florence O'Sullivan from the Housing Authority is here. John Olivetto and Mike, help me out. Marcinek from the our proposed architect engineering firm are both here. I thought Peter Testa, our consultant, was going to join us, but I don't see him here yet. So we did an RFP for architects. We had an excellent response, and we interviewed 4 firms, and AEPMI is the selected firm. They were the low bidder. They were the one who the selection committee unanimously recommended. And I'm going to see if Florence, do you have anything to say regarding the process? Florence is going to be quiet. So, and then, we do have AEPMI here if the selectmen have any questions, but we are looking to move forward with this because we've had this grant for a couple of years. We had to change consultants during this time. The funding is in place at the initial amount of $700,000. The state last year came and did an inspection with us and asked us to resubmit, giving them basically our wish list of what we would like to do in the housing units and in the infrastructure. So we went back to the state with a larger request, and right now they are reviewing that, but they haven't made a commitment one way or the other. They're asking us to go out to bid before they decide how much funding they're going to give us, which seems a little bit backwards to us, but that is what they have requested. So financing wise, we're a little bit short on, on the total. It's about $45,000 short because there was an underestimation when the grant was written. So if we only get the $700,000 from the state, we're going to be $45,000 short. If we get additional funding from the state, we're going to be good. So we just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that.
Hey, Donna, it's Peter.
Yes.
What's the timing? Like, how long will the state take to get back to us? I mean, they're waiting for this bid, and I mean, what's the timeline of when we're going to really go?
We do have to have the architect and engineers do the design, and I'll ask them to maybe make some comments about the timeline. But we have to do that first before we can put this out to bid. So, John or Mike, would you feel comfortable maybe just talking about that process?
Sure, Donna.
Thank
First
you.
of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody. My name is John Olivetto. I'm a licensed engineer with AEPMI and one of the owner partners. As far as the schedule, we have in our presentation, we had indicated completing the documents sometime late summer, early fall, and we're anticipating about at which time it would go to bid, and we're anticipating about a 6 or 7 month construction period.
Okay, Dan Larson. Mike, did you want anything to add to that, or Florence?
No, I think what we would just like to add is that we have had a tremendous amount of experience over the last 2 years doing housing in particular. We've got about, over the last 2 years, about 1,000 units of housing. And one of the elements I think that is critical to understand is when you get in there, you have to understand the building type, what elements that are in their budget. You know, how do we make sure that we meet the elements of your desires to match your budget? Because if we don't do that, it's not successful for anybody. So we take great pride in that, and we make sure that if you got a $700,000 budget, we're going to design it one way. If you got $1.5 million, we're going to make sure that we can get all the elements that you need fixed in those buildings to be done. So that's what we try to pride ourselves on.
I would like to chime in now, please. I couldn't chime in before because I didn't have my mic ready to go. This technology is a bit over my head, but it's nice to see you, John. Nice to see you, Mike. I would like to say that when we interviewed the 4 firms that we had invited, this firm came out ahead in so many ways. And we are confident that they will do what we want them to do within the budget. So I'm very confident, and I really am excited about this moving forward.
Okay. One of my questions kind of interacts with what the state is doing or not doing or whatever. With the market increase in construction materials, how do we feel that that might impact this project? And is there potential monies from the state to help to offset those product cost increases? Or we don't know?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think what we're seeing now is that the market has spiked, and what I've read recently is that the market on lumber is really peaked and it's coming back down. What we don't know is other elements. For example, this project is a large window job, so the cost of windows have different elements. Most of them are going to be vinyl with components within the windows that are going to be could get costly. But I think given the market that we're seeing, I think the elements that we're going to be dealing with in this project should not be as effective as you do what a new wood construction project would be.
Dan, the other thing is, this is John. The other thing is we have built into the program a construction estimate as we complete the documents, so that we will know the construction pricing before we go to bid. And
great.
if the pricing does get to be too high, we can offset some of the concern by, and we talked about this at our presentation, we can offset some of the concern by indicating what you would call bid alternates, so that we could segregate certain pieces of the project, and when the bids come in, we could elect to add them in or take them out as the budget may have to do.
Perfect.
And I can add to that, this is Donna speaking. When the state did respond to us that they wanted to wait until after we went out to bid, they did indicate that was one of the reasons, because of the unknowns in the cost of materials so I think that may help determine what level of funding they provide to us.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. I'm going to read the motion. And then again, open it up to my fellow select people for discussion. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen award the contract to AEPM International LLC of Ansonia, Connecticut, and approve the attached agreement between the Town of Hebron, Hebron Housing Authority, and AEPM International LLC for the Stonecroft Village Project number SC 1906701 in the total contract amount of $49,500 and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to sign the agreement. Is there any other discussion with my fellow select people? Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
John?
Tom Collins, aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
And myself, aye. Thank you very much for attending and giving us a description of what this is about. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike and John, for attending. We'll
You're
be in
welcome.
touch
Well,
soon.
you're welcome.
Our next would be the Veterans Tax Freeze. Andy, did you want to? You're on mute. You're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, the button didn't want to cooperate. Thank you. So Selectman Rivera brought this up at the last meeting to have it placed on the agenda, which we did. And I apologize, we were gonna have Deb Gernhardt here today, but she's out of state. But in lieu of that, she supplied us with some information for the packet, and she had a long talk with Mark. And in the packet, if you had a chance to read it, it lists the programs that are available and approved. I think what Mark had asked, and Mark, I'll let you speak for yourself. You had a conversation with the assessor on her sentiments and state statute. So if you want to, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Andy. Well, I was disappointed to find out that we don't have the autonomy as a town to make this decision ourselves, and the state doesn't allow us to provide some additional relief to a specific set of veterans. There's actually court cases that have been determined, stare decisis, that doesn't allow veterans to get preferential treatment based on age, combat experience, a set of other factors. It's only one benefit to all veterans. And that was a little disappointing to me that we don't even have the ability to decide this on our own. But Deb Gernhardt explained to me at length how this isn't possible and there's really no way around it. So Andy's aware of that too. I don't see all the information in the packet that she explained to me though, Andy.
Yeah, she also vetted it with the town attorney, and he responded
Right.
both to her and pretty much concurred with what Deb said, that what is allowable by state statute now, there's a couple exemptions, which we already do. But outside of that, we really don't have the ability as a town to do anything further, have to follow the state statute.
It's kind of disappointing to have to go back to the veterans and tell them that we don't have the authority to do this. It's our hands have been tied by the state. I hate to, pass the blame on to them. I wish we could have done this ourselves, but we don't even have the ability to fight this. So if any of the veterans are out there, I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, it's Peter.
Yes, sir.
Mark, I guess apologizing is okay, but I really appreciate the thought and the effort that you and others went through to listen to the veterans, to make a good faith effort to try to do something and to bring it before the board. So you I know you're disappointed, but I just wanted to commend you for the time, energy, and sort of the heartfelt effort that you put forth to demonstrate to the veterans that we care and we're trying to figure out ways to help. In this case, we can't. So let's continue to talk about other ways maybe we can help. So good job, man.
Thanks, Peter.
Yes. My sentiments exactly. Sadly, our hands are tied on so many fronts, by the state legislatures. I don't think people realize sometimes just how many areas we are under their thumb, so to speak, and under their control, or how little free reign that we have on so many areas. But yep. But thank you for the quest. Thank you for the quest.
Thanks, Dan. And good point. It was a learning experience for me to realize that we don't have the authority to do a lot of things we'd like to do.
Yeah, I tried on one for the veterans last year and the same roadblocks. Yeah, the other areas, and I guess just keep sending letters to our state leadership and see if maybe one of them will actually catch it and try to do something.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, our next would be the approval of the Affordable Housing Plan Technical Assistance Grant application.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a grant. If you guys remember, we put money in the budget to hire a consultant to do this. The towns have to have an affordable housing plan in place by next year. We had put money in the town's budget, but this recently came out. And I'll be blunt and quite frankly, this is a first come, first serve. I'm hoping the Board of Selectmen will approve this tonight. We'll sign it and get it in the mail tomorrow. In my mind, it's kind of like a no-brainer. If we could get that in there, I think we got a good chance of getting it. So this would offset the money that we budgeted to fund a portion, at least, of that affordable housing plan.
Okay, I'll read the resolution and then we can discuss it. Be it resolved that the Hebron Board of Selectmen supports and approves the grant application to the Connecticut Department of Housing for the Affordable Housing Plan Technical Assistance Grant, Round 2, in the amount of $15,000. And be it further resolved that Andrew J. Turney, Town Manager, is authorized to sign the grant application and any other necessary related documents and to administer the grant if awarded. So being read, I'll open it up for discussion. Anyone? Okay,
Well,
hearing none, I'll open it up. I think this is a unique opportunity. We all know that we would like to have more affordable housing for so many different reasons. And Father Ron is kind of working on an area, and I applaud him and his energy on this. And this may be a great start on some of that. We here in Hebron, over a number of years, have looked at different types of processes. We had the charrettes years ago that talked about different types of build outs here in town. And it always revolves or comes down to money. Where does the money come from? So to me, this is a no-brainer to get going. And the other thing we want to make sure of is that any kind of process like this, that it's done right the first time. And so I think this would be it'd be a nice little shot in the arm to get possibly things rolling. Anybody
Yeah.
else?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it's John Collins. You know, I went through the comprehensive plans for the last 50 years, and Hebron has there's been a lot of effort dedicated to bringing in affordable housing for a lot of reasons. One is to bring in more young people, which is really important now. Obviously, diversity is important, and so I agree with Andy. This is a no-brainer. I applaud your efforts, and it can only be good for Hebron.
Mark, Peter?
I'm 100% behind this. Hopefully it's a great start to actually getting it done.
Yeah, I agree. I call the question.
Okay. All in favor of that resolution, please signify by saying aye. Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, aye. Thank you. Our next would be our draft agenda. And that would be for the July 15th, 2021 meeting. And again, if anyone has anything to add or what have you, please get it in. And again, to reiterate, if there are items that do, for whatever reason, come up between now and the 15th, we still have the legal option of calling a special meeting. So it doesn't mean that if an emergency or whatever comes up, that the world stops. So we have that. Any other new business? Hearing none, we'll go into our consent agenda. And we have the approval of our June 3rd, 2021 regular meeting and the tax refunds as listed. So, our consent agenda, these are items could be considered routine in nature, which the board may or may not need to discuss individually and to be voted on as a group. Any board member who wishes to discuss a particular item in this section may request the chair to remove it for later discussion and a separate vote if necessary. So, hearing none, all in favor of those two items, signify by saying aye. Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, aye. Okay. That gets us into our liaison reports. Liaison or liaison? I don't know. Whatever. Oh. We're gonna shake things up. I'm gonna start with John tonight.
Me?
You.
I think I have to report in response to the parcel that we talked about for the open space acquisition. Open space really doesn't have a lot of money after this new acquisition, and I think we looked at that parcel and thought it was not probably one that we would go for. The one that next to St. Peter's Church, for a number of reasons. And it seemed to me, I didn't say this at the time, but it seemed to me that as the town grows, that's more of a commercial development parcel. One thing we did talk about was possibly acquiring that parcel and trading it for the land that St. Peter's has in the park across the street. Only because that intersects, is a parcel that intersects from the Horton property to downtown. We're pretty, I mean, I'm confident that St. Peter's will keep it as a park and have that trail, but that is something we talked about. But I think, finally, I don't think that the open space, I think we voted not to pursue it. But.
Okay. Thank you. Mark?
Tomorrow's the last day of school at Ram. Middle school is getting promoted in the morning, graduation at night. We're anticipating the largest graduation attendance ever. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but for a lot of reasons we are. I'm a little nervous about the amount of people that may come. So I would stay away from Route 316 in the center of town from 5 o'clock to 9:30 because there's going to be a lot of traffic. And
We're going to do it at Ram then?
yeah, we're doing it at Ram. There's even an electronic screen where I think his name is Pollard, Peter, the pro baseball player who graduated from Ram.
AJ, yeah.
Yeah, he's being piped in to make a speech to the graduates. I know that's a big deal for everybody. That's a little before my time here, but yeah, we're doing it there. The chairs are already set up, and we're ready to go, Dan.
Where are they doing parking?
Every spot of grass we could find that doesn't have sprinklers on it. The overflow, Andy and I talked about this. We may have to send them over to the library or behind the fire department, like you suggested at the last meeting. We actually sent that out, and we're instructing people if we get too crowded up there and it gets too dangerous, we're going to have to send them into town, and it's going to be a long walk. But we have plenty of spaces for our handicapped and grandparents, so they're the first that we're going to take care of. So we'll see what happens, Dan.
Going to be any contingencies for, crossing and what have you for across 66? If you do open up parking on the south side of 66?
Yeah, we have 5 officers on for that night. I have the ability to open up the box and run the traffic lights myself, so I can get people across the street or get the stoplight going. So we thought of everything, Dan. I'm sure there'll be something that comes up that we don't, but we'll be flexible, and hopefully we got enough staff on hand to handle what happens.
Great. Perfect.
Mark,
Thank you.
Mark, unfortunately, another Casper is graduating, so we're all going to be there tomorrow. So yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. I got one graduating too, Peter, so it'll be good. A good night for us. Hey, get there early, Pete. I'll have a spot for you somewhere.
All right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. There's a question, Mark, that I just saw pop up on the screen. Did you see that?
Yeah, we can bring it up. We can bring it up under public comment.
Okay. See, this is one of the advantages of this.
True.
You can get that. Okay. Peter?
I have nothing to add that hasn't already been covered from both of the boards that the commissions that I'm the liaison on.
Okay. And then I guess that leaves me because Gail's not here. With the fire department, just a reminder that the center, again, I'm not sure how busy it'll be, whatever, but we are having the funeral and for past retired police captain Patty Griffin will be Saturday. So they're all invited back to the firehouse after the service Saturday morning, and the wake is tomorrow night. And I apologize, I do not have that information of just where that is on me right now. So other than that, that's it. So,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
I was just to correct, I wasn't entirely right on that parcel. I guess Open Space did agree to do to consider a joint purchase, I guess, of purchasing the wetlands.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, good. And that'll be more information to follow. So that's definitely going to be kind of a little moving target, but yeah, a little bit early at this juncture, I think. But definitely something that, many entities are going to be looking at to put this together. Okay, so we have back to public comment, and there was one, I think, Miss Rhodes.
Sure. And so Lily Rhodes had a few public comments. She did say regarding the public comment during the virtual meeting discussion, the interactive dynamic is superior to viewing the live meeting. And then she did say yes, exclamation point, when we were talking about the affordable housing plan. And then on the discussion for the RAM parking or potential parking and crossing, she said to help with graduation. I don't know if that's a possibility because usually they need to register with the state in advance of an event. So it may be too late, but it wouldn't hurt checking in with Paul Bancroft, our emergency management director, if that is something they might be able to help out with. And I do have the details for Patty Griffin's visitation
thank you.
and funeral, if you'd like me to share. So
Yes,
the
please.
visitation is on Friday, the 18th at Aurora McCarthy Funeral Home, Old Colchester or Old Hartford Road in Colchester. That's from 5 to 7 p.m. And then the funeral service is on Saturday, the 19th at 10 a.m. at Church of the Holy Family in Hebron, and then back to the firehouse.
Thank you very, very much for that. Okay, perfect. Anybody have anything else? Any other public comment?
Just for the Board of Selectmen, Gail had reached out to us and said Jack's surgery or procedure went fine. He's resting, so just wanted everyone to know that. Jack Richmond, Gail's husband.
That's fantastic news. I talked to her earlier, but so she says hi to everyone.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all. Have yourself a great rest of the evening. Stay safe tomorrow. Good luck with graduation, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye, Pete.
Good night.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Andy.
Good night. Thank you.